Hello and welcome to Victoria University's on-demand graduate online information series. My name is Bobby McCumber and I will be talking with Associate Professor Jeannie Ray. We're going to be talking about the benefits of studying a graduate certificate in planetary health. Welcome, Jeannie.
Well, thank you, Bobby. Very nice to see you.
Now, Jeannie is the chair of the Graduate Certificate in Planetary Health and is currently the Senior Project Manager for the Planetary Health Initiative. Now, Jeannie, just give us a little bit of a background on yourself, your education and your career.
Okay then, how I got to this fabulous situation of getting up a brand new course in planetary health this year. Well, I've been involved as an educator formally and informally in the TAFE and higher education sector for longer than I care to admit, but have always been focused around trying to make social and environmental change for a better world. And so a lot of my background is in gender studies, not surprisingly. I also teach in international community development and over the years initiated a number of units of study around issues around environmentalism, climate change and so on. And so bringing all of that together is really what planetary health is all about.
If you could just give us a little bit of an insight into what planetary health is and why it's so important today.
Well, I think just looking around us and what we've been through this year pretty much answers that question, doesn't it? Why have we got a pandemic? What did people have to do with making the conditions that brought about this pandemic? And how are we going to resolve it and look at the consequences of trying to mitigate the spread of the disease and all of those things. But interestingly, Victoria University, right back at the start of the year, picked up the idea of looking at planetary health as indeed the lens we look at all that we do in the university, because planetary health is about that intersection between the well-being of people and of the planet. The focus has been very much on in both academic development in planetary health as well as a social movement, as a way of thinking and being, has been about understanding the impacts that people have on the planet, the consequences for people of that, and indeed our responsibility to take greater care of ourselves, our communities and the planet.
Can you give us an outline of the course and what it entails?
Look, what we decided to do with the course, and indeed it is probably in the world called Grad Cert in Planetary Health, but of course these concepts of environmental sustainability and health and wellbeing are becoming quite prolific, and appropriately so, across the universities and indeed across our education systems. But what we decided to focus on in a 4-unit course was to look at the concepts around planetary health, look at the key importance of the past roles and current roles of Indigenous peoples, obviously focusing on the country that we're on here at Victoria University and our Aboriginal communities, but looking at a broad way of the ways that Aboriginal people and First Nations people around the world have lived in harmony with the environment and continue to be able to teach us much about that. So much of what's come up, I suppose, through the more traditional scientists and social scientists and philosophers and so on of looking at planetary health ideas have indeed, listen to our First Nations people. So that's been an important part of it. But so we've concentrated on looking at some of the philosophical basis, some of the political and social, the economic, business. It's very multidisciplinary, and indeed what we're keen on is becoming transdisciplinary, where we leap to a new level of how we work together across what have often been those silos of disciplinary and fields of study, which is why we attract students from all sorts of backgrounds. But also, really importantly, because of when it happened, and when indeed the university made its commitment to planetary health, we were meeting with the bushfire smoke swirling around us back in January. I know that seems a long time ago, not for the poor old people who are still dealing with the aftermaths of those bushfires, or that smoke that's still circulating. But that happened. We said, let's get on with this. We've got to deal with climate change. Universities have a responsibility to deal with climate change. People expect that. Then the pandemic. So bringing all that together, we thought, okay, we obviously need a unit dedicated to climate change as a scientific basis for understanding these things, but also the social and political for making change. And we also, not surprisingly, had a specialist subject around dealing with disasters, but not going it in a negative and I suppose disempowering way, but looking at resilience and looking at how communities manage these things and how we can get past it. So the course has a very positive approach, whilst having also a very sound basis in evidence, not opinion.
Can you tell us about some of our partnerships within the course and how some of the students can benefit from those partnerships?
Well, this was our first semester. We just finished. We've got 17 graduates. Congratulations to that group. And interestingly, they've come themselves, of course, with networks. Some of the students were recent graduates, some were well advanced in their careers in local government, planning and the like, careers in the building and design industry, in creative arts, in education, in hospitals, in running their own businesses and looking at how their practice in business. So the students themselves bring part of our network and our cohort, and indeed they're now a network too. But that's been our focus the whole way along, Bobby, has been about how do we actually create a course that gives students or graduates that extra bit, of having an understanding of planetary health, having a whole lot of useful skills to go out and add to what they're already doing, their career they're already in, or if they want to change their career to something else. And that's indeed what happened for this first set of graduates too.
What can professionals expect? And I guess this is a bit of a loaded question, you're just talking about the last 12 months and what we've been through, but what can professionals expect within this industry in the next 5 years?
Look, and indeed, the reasons the students came and did the course, which was about, I think, wanting the language to talk about what's going on at the moment and what to do about it. So it's very much a case of there's no ignoring of the impacts of climate change. There's no ignoring of obviously now the impacts of the pandemic, and indeed the ways that we've been doing things haven't worked. So whether you're a building company, whether you're a local government officer, whether you're a nurse, whether you're an academic, the ways that you need to be looking at your work, and obviously your life wider than work, because I think one of our important messages in Planetary Health is life isn't all about getting a job and holding on to a job, but the reality is you need a job to be able to survive, look after yourself, your family, and contribute too. So that's been the focus, has been very much upon, this is a new add-on for people. It's a new way of saying, look, I'm an accountant, I'm a social scientist, I'm a psychologist, got an MBA, but what do I need now? And what skills, what knowledges I can then apply to my practice. So we had very practically based assessment tasks, ones where people could choose and draw upon their current work and what they could do it, how they could do it differently. Come up with an action plan to make a change in your workplace. Let's look at how you campaign for a change. Let's look at how we talk about, how we tell a story. Students learned about making podcasts, about writing opinion pieces, about a whole lot of those things which mightn't have been part of their previous course experience and just not part of their professional practice. Many of the sorts of skills which will come to be necessary in practice. So students did things like responded as a panel to how to deal with a disaster, for example. And now for students saying, I want to move into that field. Other students saying, I want to get into advocacy. Others going, I really have some skills now to sort of look at my workplace and how to drive change.
Jenny, building on the success of the block model with our undergraduate degrees, we're now introducing the block model with our postgraduate. Tell us about how this will work for a graduate certificate with Planetary Health.
Well, we were the first cab off the rank, indeed. We it's the first blocked postgraduate course, designed and delivered all in 6 months. Whoa! So we can't say anything but up to the minute. It's worked really well because we had 4 sequential units, and you build up a body of knowledge from the first one, which was introducing concepts and practices and thinkings and big reading list, video lists, guest speakers, most of whom were from amongst our Victoria University's terrific planetary health research base. Then moving into the specialist units, the climate change unit, then moving into the disaster and resilience unit, and then into the final unit, which was called transdisciplinary transformations, making a healthy planet. So that sequence way of doing it worked. It was fairly intense. The students reported that. A lot of work for them too. But they were finding it very absorbing. They were learning many new things. Of course, they were very rapidly making a bunch of new friends and network colleagues and all the rest of it as well. And yeah, I'd say to be honest about it, we probably tried to pile too much on. Thanks to that first cohort, we can do a little bit of adjusting, but that's also part of course, the process we've been through in the whole university as we've really not just blocked our courses, we've changed our courses. Not just the way we teach them, the way they're organised on a timetable, but how well they work for now. We say we want our students to be future ready, and that's indeed exactly what we had in mind when we created this course, and indeed it travels across our university work.
Well, it sounds like a wonderful course and something that's very relevant in today's environment. Thank you very much for your time here today, Jeannie. Hopefully everyone at home watching Victoria University's on-demand graduate online information series has found that very informative, and we've helped you to get one step closer with your journey at Victoria University.